Knifedope. More dope. Come and get your fix. What's up, fuckers? Your boy's back with a fresh batch of dope. Knifedope. That's right, people. The hits don't stop. Today's video is going to be basically an unveiling of some knives that I sent out for some recent mods. And then, keeping that same energy, I decided to go ahead and share all the knives in my collection that I have modded thus far. We've got simple mods where we just added a few pocket clips, all the way out to regrinds and knives being modded entirely. So we're going to get into all that, and I'm going to go ahead and give all the companies who I use for mods, going to make sure that I shout them out. So basically, state of the collection when it comes to mods. But first off, let's take a look at the knives that I just got back and who modded them. I sent two knives on over to this gentleman who is a first-timer for me. I've never sent him anything in the past. Fantastic experience. This is Mr. Alfred. You can find him on IG at Alfred, or rather AR_custom knives, and he does everything. Now, the two knives I sent him, unfortunately, one of them came back unmodded, but I'll explain why. That one was this, the MBK Old Guard. Now, the Old Guard, you can see here, has actually developed some fantastic action. This is a washer knife. One of the mods that Alfred offers is a bearing upgrade, where he will take your washer knife and he will CNC bearing pockets on the actual handle. Unfortunately, that mod is not capable on an inset liner lock, which the MBK Old Guard is. So he contacted me once he got the knives to let me know that that was not going to be able to be done. But don't fret, we still got one done. This next one that I had done was something totally different. Nothing crazy. However, I anticipated changing the knife entirely. I sent him a ProTech. I sent him the Mordax, which is quite possibly my favorite ProTech to date. Now, if you're familiar with the ProTech, it is a flipper-only knife. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know how I feel about that. I tend to shy away from flipper-only knives. Granted, I have maybe 2 or 3 in the collection. But I had a vision for this. I saw this Mordax with a set of tits on it. And I'm here to show you the job well done by Mr. Alfred. I had marked with a marker exactly kind of where I wanted the studs to go. And he accommodated me. I believe he even makes his own studs. And he did a wonderful job on here. They are placed right where they needed to be, allowing me to get my reverse flick, my thumb flick, my finger cannon flick, all just as enjoyable. So now I've got multiple forms of deployment on this knife. He did a great job, fair pricing, and I anticipate sending him more knives to mod for me. But I ain't gonna shit you. It was a little bit dicey because I was a little bit nervous, you know. When it comes to modding, you got to choose your modders. If you're sending your knives out, be sure to do your due diligence, because I had a bad experience this year. I tried to have some tits installed on this 229 kickstop apparatus, and they were done incorrectly. What ended up happening was the individual did not do his proper homework, and when he installed the studs, the lock side stud was banging against that frame, and therefore the knife was not closing all the way. So in the meantime, all I had to do was just swap out one side of that stud to allow me to actually have the knife closed. So, you know, when you send these knives off, you want to make sure that that modder is going to stand behind their work and they're going to do the work correctly. So big shout out to Alfred for doing that. And let's continue to dive down this rabbit hole. Okay, let's get to the simple shit first. Some of the companies that I use for the pocket clips, which is probably the easiest mod you can do, is I use Lynch Northwest. I also use RGT, and I have recently started to use MXG gear. Now, when it comes to Lynch, I think that they are probably the most known or the most popular company when it comes to aftermarket pocket clips, and deservedly so. They offer an array of different configurations for a bunch of different models. In particularly, they have the Spyderco Pocket Clip Game Down Pack. This is just a standard Spyderco Pocket Clip replacement that I have here on the swayback. Then he also offers, more extravagant clips. This one is a Fox Mascus pocket clip that I have riding on this River's Edge Cutlery exclusive Shaman. Just that little pocket clip alone just does so much for me on that knife. Then he also does milled titanium pocket clips. I chose to get this one, which is for the Drunken, which is a recent acquisition. And not only did it change the knife aesthetically, this clip actually changed the ergos for the better. It just allows a more secure purchase, eliminating any possible hot spots, and it looks fucking great all in the same time. So those are some of the clips that I chose to mod through Lynch. Then I chose some RXG, or rather some RGT clips to go with. This one was the milled titanium standard Spyderco pocket clip replacement. I chose to put this one on my recently acquired River's Edge Cutlery PM2. And once again, just that simple pocket clip does so much. Then I also chose RGT for this wire clip replacement for Spyderco. Once again, I went with the milled titanium option. I believe these clips are about $75, give or take, so they're not very cheap. That being said, though, they were cheaper than this one for the Drunken. The Drunken one came in at about $88. And then there's a new company who I've been using for pocket clips, which is going to be MXG Gear. I have bought 2 of their pocket clips that I have installed on both of my McNees, the 3-inch as you see here, as well as the 3.5. This is a pocket clip which is actually labeled for a ZT, but that being said, the screw pattern lines up perfectly. And then they also do a standard Spyderco clip. Some people, and particularly my partner in crime, Duty, he tends to think that MXG Gear makes the best Spyderco pocket clips. I'm starting to see his vision though, because they do look great. Here you see it side by side against that Lynch. Very similar aesthetics, but at the same time, quite a bit different. You can see here that this MXG Gear appears to be a little bit more stubby, a little bit shorter, therefore eliminating any possibility of a hot spot. So those are just some of the knives that I did simple mods on, namely pocket clips. So let's get to the next level of modding. Okay, the next level of modding that I chose to get into was into actually having custom scales made. There are tons of people you can use for this. I decided to go with Carbodize. I don't have a sticker to represent Carbodize, but you can find him on IG, Carbodize with a K. His name is Spencer, and he does fantastic work. The first knife that I chose to have custom scales made for was this Spyderco Subvert. Now, if you're familiar with the Subvert in its original form, it is an ugly fucking knife. Horrendous orange scales, horrendous backspacer. Now, when I received the knife, I had contemplated actually sending it back. But I ain't no goddamn quitter, so I decided to just mod it and make it my own. I opted to go with these micarta scales. They've got this nice milling pattern texture here on both sides of the handle. Also had him make me this carbon fiber backspacer. But then I needed a pocket clip. Now, the Subvert is not the most popular knife, so it was kind of hard to find someone to make me a pocket clip. However, I went with A. Purvis Blade Works, and he made me this beautiful Ghost Timascus custom pocket clip for the Subvert. Love this knife. Granted, it does not get as much carry time as I would like because it is a big, cumbersome knife. But anyways, it's beautiful and it is in my collection. Okay. I was so happy with those scales that I decided to go right back to Carbodize again and had him do custom scales for my mini roach. Now, I've had a couple of my homies reach out to me and say, why the hell would you have spent so much money on a budget knife? Number one, because I fucking could. And number two, I love the fucking knife. The scales that I had him make for me are these beautiful seafoam green carbon fiber twill. Love the texture, love the aesthetics of it. Then I went ahead and had him make me a matching backspacer as well. Threw on a Kaiser deep carry titanium pocket clip on that, and that completed that build. Then my most recent and last bit of scales that I got from Carbodize was for this knife. This is the Griffin Scout F3. Now this one comes from the factory with a shredded carbon fiber inlay. It didn't look bad, but I saw a better vision in mind, and that was with these beautiful Timascus camo carbon inlays. They were built just like the original ones. They fit perfectly, no issues with fitment, and they bring the knife to another whole new level. Love everything that Carbodize has done for me thus far. Great pricing, great guy. Carbodize on IG. So there you have the custom scale knives in my collection. Okay, next up is going to be regrinds. You know, nothing, I think, more so than changing scales. A regrind will definitely change the entire knife for you. The first knife that I had ever sent for a regrind, number one, when it comes to regrinding, there's only one name you need to know. John from BGM Knives. Big shout out to him. The first knife I had done by him was this one, an American classic. This is the Hinderer Eclipse. So this is a flat grind normally, and you know, it's known for having very thick behind the edge, or rather very behind the edge thickness. So therefore I had him do this wonderful hollow grind on it. Super slicey as a fuck. Love the way that belt satin plays in contrast against the original finish on the blade. Also had him do a swedge on that. Then I had him increase my finger choil, which does allow for the full purchase, no refund. And then last, I had him delete that flipper. This one has studs, so there was no need for me to keep that silly flipper around, or keep that flipper around. Loved the way this one came out so much that I continued that relationship. The next one I sent him was this one. This is the Demko AD 20.5 Shark's Foot apparatus. Now, if you're familiar with Demko knives, you know that they are also very thick behind the edge. So therefore, I saw a vision with this one. I wanted a nice hollow grind, therefore allowing this to be a super slicey blade, and he did it exquisitely. Once again, you can see he also did that nice swedge there on the spine. Totally changes that knife's geometry and makes it so much more capable. Then I decided to go right back to him again, and I sent him this one, which is my favorite knife in the collection thus far. This is my McNeese Mac 2 3.5 rendition. This one was a earlier version of the Mac 2. This one came with a flat grind, and so therefore I also wanted to have a more slicey cutting tool. So I had him do that same fantastic hollow grind, as well as that beautiful, almost full-length swedge there on the spine. Once again, love the way the contrast when you have that original gray matte finish up there against that belt satin finish. It just looks amazing. There was a fourth knife that I had sent to John. However, it's no longer around, but I missed it so much that I decided to go ahead and start working on that mod again. First thing I had to do was get the knife again. This is the Artist, formerly known as the Mayhem, now being called the RS Chaos. When I got the Chaos, I got it on the original drop. Immediately sent it on over to John. He gave me a full-length hollow grind there, in essence, removing that silly secondary grind. It came out wonderfully. However, I ended up selling it, but I missed it so much that I ended up buying the knife again so I can repeat the process. So stay tuned for that one. So that is custom regrinds, which were done by BGM. Okay. Next up, we're going to get into the aftermarket scales. Now, these are not going to be custom scales. These are more production knife scales, and I've got several companies that I use for that. One of the companies I've chose to buy scales from is from Cerberus. All these companies are USA companies, by the way, and use USA sourced materials. These are Richlight scales. I chose to put these on my Shaman. This is the 15V rendition of the Shaman. Big shout out to Triple B, Big Brown Bear. Also went ahead and added that Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip. Love the way this one came out as well. Very lightweight due to the Richlight scales. So this is a fantastic Shaman in the collection. Then I decided to go back to Cerberus on a recent acquisition. I bought this Blade Ops exclusive PM2. I decided to put on these Canvas Micarta honeycomb pattern scales with the Hyperglow pivot. Then I also went ahead and chose another company to get my backspacer, which is Rock Scale Design. I went with a titanium backspacer. And then I decided to try the MXG Gear stubby deep carry pocket clip. This one came out fantastic. Granted, I did finish second in voting behind Rolo, allegedly. I want to recount. But it came out great. Love Cerberus scales, love the quality, and love the fit and finish. Then there's another company that I chose to do some scales from, or rather get some scales from, and that is once again RGT. He's very good at, a number of different scale materials, but primarily I love his titanium scales. These are slightly contoured scales for the PM2. I decided to put them on this Tonto Blade HQ exclusive. This is one of my favorite knives in the collection, hands down one of my favorite Spydercos as well. Also went ahead and had that that lanyard plug. You know how I feel about lanyards. Lanyards are for weirdos. And then I completed this build with a RGT milled titanium pocket clip. So there's that one. Then I decided to go back to RGT for this one. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, small pocket knife. This is the Little Native Warrenclyffe apparatus. Originally, this comes with G10. I decided to put on these titanium scales with that angled milling pattern. Wonderful, wonderful result on that one. So we got those. Then we're going to go ahead and go into more of the aluminum material. And the company who I first chose to dive down the rabbit hole with was AWT, Applied Weapons Tech. They make fantastic scales. I had fallen in love with AWT for a while. That was the only scales that I was going for as far as aftermarket scales for my Spyderco. These are the skinny scales. They actually delete the nub, and then they make the side profile a lot slimmer than the G10 ones. They are not contoured, but they are nicely chamfered all the way around. Very, very lightweight. They also have some nice diagonal milling pattern going on. So that is AWT Shaman Scales. Also threw on that Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip. Then I went ahead and I bought a set for my Manix 2. Love the way, this was the first Manix 2 that I had modded. It came out wonderfully. Once again, nice skinny profile due to these aluminum scales. Same fantastic milling pattern. I decided to throw on an MXG Gear deep carry pocket clip. And there goes that one. That's also the 15V rendition. Then I went ahead and bought some for, I bought 2 sets of scales from my Para 3 lightweight. As far as I know, AWT is the only company that I know of that makes scales for the Para 3 lightweight, and they are amazing. Totally changes the knife. Also went ahead and threw on that Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip with that carbon fiber pattern on it. So there's that one. And then most recently, they decided to start making knives for the, or rather making scales for the Native 5 lightweight. Once again, I think the only company that is offering scales for the Native 5 lightweight. These were so popular that upon dropping, they sold out, and I still don't think they're in stock yet. Don't quote me on that, but we have that same milling pattern. If there was anything negative I could say about AWT is that they have the same pattern on all their scales. You cannot opt for anything else. I kind of wish that they would offer a different pattern or so, but nonetheless, fantastic scales, all American made, and those are from AWT. Last but certainly not least, in my opinion, the company that offers the best aftermarket scales. You should know by now who I'm talking about. None other than the GOAT. Original GOAT, that is. Treat yourself. I would. Just be sure to use code FUCKER for 15% off that purchase. All right, in June of this year, Original GOAT changed the game, and they decided to make scales for the Manix 2. Now, being that I had some aluminum scales from AWT, I wasn't quite sure how these were going to come out, but they blew me away. These are a clamshell construction, and they are just absolutely amazing for a couple of reasons. Number one, the acoustics, second to none. Also, more importantly, you've got several different milling patterns to choose from, as well as several different finishing options. I decided also to throw a Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip on this one, and so there's that build. Then, keeping that same Original GOAT energy, I decided to do this one. This is the AD20, and when I purchased this 8020, it just so happens that the GOAT was starting to take pre-orders for Gen 2 of their 8020 scales, and I'm blown away by these. Once again, you can choose several different patterns as far as your milling goes. I chose the original GOAT pattern, and then when it came to finishing, I went with a blasted finish, and then I went ahead and completed this build with this Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip. These titanium scales actually delete the liner which houses your shark lock. And, you know, a lot of times people tend to shy away from titanium scales because of the weight. That being said, however, this AD20 originally in stock form with G10 scales came in at 5.5 ounces. With these original GOAT titanium scales, this one came in at 6.3. So less than an ounce as far as weight increase. Now let's talk about weight decrease. And we're going to talk about, hands down, one of my favorite knives in the collection, which is the AD15. This go round from original GOAT, they offered linerless aluminum scales with a skiff bearing upgrade. That's right. The AD15 is now capable of riding on fucking skiffs. Look at that goddamn action, people. Unbelievable. Now, as far as weight reduction goes, the stock form of the AD15 comes in at 6.6 ounces. With these linerless scales, it came all the way down to 5.8. So almost a complete ounce difference by choosing to go with these aluminum scales from original GOAT. Last but certainly not least, my most recent acquisition from the GOAT, and another stellar example of what they're capable of. These are for the Yojimbo 2. These are the aluminum scales, beautifully contoured, beautifully milled. And once again, you can choose several different color options. Also, something to note, these scales are contoured, like I mentioned. And because of that, the traditional pocket clip that comes on the Spyderco is a 3-hole pocket clip. And therefore, the clip was kind of riding a little bit awkward. So they went back to the drawing board, actually started having Lynch make them some custom pocket clips that have two-hole setting. Now, something that's not really well known is that this is actually adjustable. You can loosen up the screw setting on those, and you can shift that pocket clip to whatever feels more comfortable to you. Great job by the GOAT. Another reason why I think they are the best company making aftermarket scales for all of these knife models. You know, they've got Spyderco, they've got Demco, they got them all. They even do Hogue scales, RG, or rather Ritter scales. They do it all. Just go ahead and head on over there and see what they got. Be prepared, though. A lot of times you do have to wait, but trust me, it's worth the wait. Well, there you fuckers have it. Mod life. More importantly, I want to know what you fuckers think. Are you into modding? Are there any companies that I left out? Tell me all about it. Love you, mean it. Until the next time. Cut something, cut someone. Just don't cut yourself. Stay dangerous, fuckers!